Hello, Pastor Matthews. How are you?
Doing well, Bishop. Doing well. So honored to be a part of this, and so grateful for this time and opportunity.
We do has always been on the front lines, and I'm just so thankful to you and to Wes Cook and all of the brothers and sisters there, and your powerful listening audiences, which I say, I'm sorry I'm moving around on this live screen, but I'm saying that your listening audience is one of the most informed theological listening audiences in the country. And that's certainly due to the great work that you all do together. So thank you so much for having Repairs of the Breach on for our, if you ever needed to vote for democracy and justice, we sure do need to vote now as we're coming to your congressional district via radio and via live stream.
Certainly, we want to recognize Brother Wes and Sandy Cookman for all they do and for this We Do network that covers Fayetteville, Lumberton, Red Springs, and Laurinburg.
Wow, I didn't know y'all went that Fayetteville, Lumberton. Okay.
Red Springs and Laurinburg, yes, sir.
And with live stream, we can go worldwide.
Yes, sir.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Well, we've got somebody on the line named Brianna Kemp, and I want her to just kind of share with folk on the line where other sites they can go to and view this session, very informative, where they can go and because we're cross-posting, and they can call friends, text friends, email friends, and tell them, look, if you want to get to real information particularly about what's going on down in that area, you can tune in. So Brianna, would you introduce yourself and let folk know?
Yes, thanks, Bishop Barber. My name is Brianna Kemp. I'm a national organizer with Repairs of the Breach. I'm really happy to be on with y'all today, and thank you, Pastor Matthews, for having us on. For those of you who are joining us and listening, you can also watch this live stream on the Repairs of the Breach website, which is breachrepairs.org/live stream. You can also find this live stream on the Repairs of the Breach Facebook page and Twitter, and also on Reverend Barber's Facebook page on Twitter. So if you're able to jump online, please join us. We're so happy to be here with y'all.
And Pastor Matthews, you've got a powerful preacher down there in Fayetteville. She's with the AME Zion Church. I want her to introduce herself. She's on this live stream with us, and tell her people who she are. A lot of her friends may know her out there. And if she can give a shout out to them and tell them to go call people and tell them to join us up. Reverend Broom.
Thank you, Bishop Barber. Thank you, Pastor Matthews, for allowing us to be in this space. I am Reverend Hannah R. Broom. I'm an ordained elder in the AME Zion Church, the National Faith and Justice Organizer for Repairs of the Breach. We have truly been galvanized to go into our communities and register people to vote, get them informed, civic engagement. So all of my women, my powerful women leaders, my powerful community leaders all come together. Make sure that you are the link that was shared for the last few weeks. Please click onto that, share with a friend, be digital evangelists, ambassadors, and share this link with them, so that we all can stand together for justice. Thank you, Bishop Barber, for this time and this chance, this opportunity.
Great. And one more thing, Brother Matthews, we have a brother named Keyshawn who's on, and Lauren, they're running our tech media. And Keyshawn, I want to ask if you would drop some texts out live right now, letting people know we're on, and that they can join us. They can either tune in to, what's the call number for WIDU, Brother Matthews?
For WIDU, it is 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
Okay.
And for our family in Lumberton, it is 97.1 FM, 1340 AM. Those in the Red Springs area is 98.5 FM, 1160 AM. And for the Laurinburg family, it is 92.5 FM, 1460 AM.
Great. Well, Brother Matthews, when I talked to Wes the other day about doing this, he said he would be glad because he says, you know, every now and then we need in this space somebody to talk about politics. It's not talking about Republicans versus Democrats and liberal versus conservative, but it's just talking about what are the base issues that people ought to know about, ought to be concerned about, and particularly repairs of the breach, looks at issues from a moral perspective, whether that moral perspective is from our various faith traditions or from the moral perspective of the Constitution. And so that's why we're here today. And one of the things we do, Brother Matthews, is we always start with some form of what we call theomusicology. And so rather than have you play a song, we actually brought one of the songbirds of America with us today. She's a theomusicologist. Her name is Miss Yara Allen. She travels all over the country and has even sung at the Vatican and sung in Liverpool and around the world, leading people in what we call movement music. Comes out of that good old Pentecostal Kojic background and got all that mixed up with a little jazz, and it's pretty nice, in that. And so I want to ask her if she will open us with I know because of the way radio is, she can't do the long version, but if she would open us with the song, and your listeners and viewers, they can actually learn this song and join along with us. And by the way, any of the churches that are out there, if you ever want a theomusicology to come in and train your choirs on how to sing justice music and music that takes the scriptures and what God says about justice and connects it to where we are now, our theomusicologist, Ms. Yara Allen, will be honored to do that and well able to do that. So, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Bishop Barber, and a good evening to everybody. Yes, indeed, we're going to sing together. And for many of the listeners and viewers, this song does ring familiar because it does come from that Pentecostal tradition. It is very easy to learn. I encourage you to sing this song on your way to the polls. Sing this song to people who are not registered as you register them. Sing it to those who are registered as you make sure that they get to the polls. The words of this song say, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to go? It asks the question and then it lends the answer. Yes, I'm going to vote. Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I'm going to vote. Very easy song. And I encourage you to teach it and sing it as we have all across the country. Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I'm going to vote. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I'm going to vote. Well, voting is our power. Don't you want to vote? Voting is our power. Don't you want to vote? Voting is our power. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I'm going to vote. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I'm going to vote.
Well, Matthews, I see you over there bopping your head and about to jump out the seat and get the can on.
Very spirited.
That's right. But that's how we do it in the movement, Doc. And the movement has always had a song in the midst of no matter what was going on. And one of the reasons we're doing this across North Carolina is I want to give your listening audience some facts and figures that they may not have ever heard. And I'll give them because they represent policy failures. Poverty and low wages is not something that people do to themselves. It is the failure of policy. and therefore the failure of policymakers. And people get to be policymakers by who we vote in office. I'll talk about that later, but I want to give you some statistics and your audience, and then we have what we call 3 testifiers, people who are actually poor and or low wealth, who are going to come on and talk about why it is poor and low wealth persons, low wage persons cannot afford to sit down, and there we are to say, come on, don't you want to vote? In North Carolina, Reverend Matthews, today, all these years since the March on Washington, 48% of all the people in North Carolina are poor and or low wage. You think about that, 48%. That's 4.7 million residents in this state. You know, there are only about 9 million people in the state total, or a little near 10 million, but 48% of those are poor and or low wage. That's 1.3 million children. That's 2.5 million women. That's 2.3 million Black people or people of color. And that is 2.4 million white brothers and sisters are poor and or low wealth. You should also know, your audience, to know that why we say if we ever needed to vote for democracy and justice, we need to vote now, particularly the poor and low wealth brothers and sisters, that in this country, in this state, we have 35,000 people who are imprisoned. That's and 61% of that 35,000 are people of color, even though people of color do not represent that much of a percentage of the population. And until recently, if you were arrested and got a felony, even if you paid your debt to society, you couldn't get your voting rights back. Just recently, Reverend Matthew, we won that case, and now persons who have paid their debt to society can have their voting rights restored. We want to say that on the station because a lot of people don't know it yet. Lastly, in this state of North Carolina, in this country where we spend more money on healthcare than any other country in the world, and North Carolina is considered one of the top medical states because of the hospitals we have here, there are over 1,087,000 people who are uninsured. Over 1 million people are uninsured because currently our policies in this country say that your health care is connected to your job and not to your body. Now, mind you, everybody that gets elected to Congress, that goes to the United States House of Representatives or the Senate, they get free health care paid for by us. We pay for their health care, but they've not yet moved to believe that the people who pay for their health care ought to have health care just like them. And then lastly, there are 9,000 homeless people in North Carolina on any given day. The minimum wage is just a little bit over $7.25. And in North Carolina, in order to afford a basic 2-bedroom apartment, you have to work 87 hours at minimum wage. In other words, you can work 87 hours a week at minimum wage and barely be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. And there are 2 million workers in this state, get up and work hard every day, and they make less than a living wage of $15 an hour. That means 49, almost 50% of the workforce in North Carolina makes less than a living wage. Why do we bring all that up? Because who gets insurance? Who gets paid a living wage? Who has voting rights? Those are all political matters and are determined by who gets elected. I want to come back after these testifiers, as we're here on We Do today, and talk about why that ought to concern us as people of faith and why that ought to concern us as moral agents. I'm not here to talk about Democrat and Republican. We're here to talk about our deepest moral tradition and really in some way what Jesus says about how we as a nation should care for the least of these. But before we do that, we want to put a voice and a face on those numbers, because sometimes we hear those numbers and we say, oh, those are numbers. but let's look at who that looks like. So Brianna and Keyshawn and others, we have some video and some recordings we want to put up now.
That's right. Thanks, Bishop. I'm honored to introduce our testifiers today. First, we're going to watch a video from Beth Schaefer, who is a Raise Up Fight for 15 leader in South Carolina, and just recently spoke at our Mass Poor Peoples and Low Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington and to the polls in June. We'll see that video.
And we had over 150,000 people.
We did.
From all over the country and millions online. Just want to mention that. Yeah.
Yes, it was powerful. And so we'll hear from Beth, who was there with us. Then we'll hear from Diana Powell from Justice Served NC. Then we'll hear from Pastor Nestor Gomez from Hope Cafe and Comunidad Vida Nueva, North Carolina. And then we'll hear from Bertha Bradley, affectionately known in the movement as Mama Cookie, who is also a Raise Up leader in North Carolina. And we can go now to the video.
And each of these are going to take, Rev. Matthews, no more than 2 minutes. And I want those who are live, try to keep it to 1.5 minutes because we are on radio and it's a little bit different than being live, you know, in a sanctuary. So we ready for the first one?
Yes, we are.
How y'all doing? My name is Beth Schaefer. I'm with Raise Up, Charleston Fight for 15, and a union. I have been struggling to pay my bills since I've been working at 16 years old. I work full-time at KFC and a second job at a gas station. I work 64 hours a week, 7 days a week.
Out, Lauren. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Because let's stop right there. Let's take that video out. Let's stop that video because evidently it wasn't tested at the beginning. Let's go to our live. We have to test. Let's go to our live testifiers. Kemp.
Welcome, Diana. We're so happy to have you.
Brianna, we ready for the live ones?
We're ready. Yep. Welcome, Diana.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diana Powell. I'm the Executive Director of Justice Served in North Carolina. I am one of the co-plaintiffs in the lawsuit that was filed. And in this lawsuit, where 56,000 North Carolinians have the right to vote, to register and vote. The court's ruling is one of the largest expansion of voting rights in the state since the Voting Rights Act in 1965. So on the backs of those that have fought this journey and have made a way, we are still pushing every day to reach those 56,000 voters here in North Carolina. I am so pleased and thankful for the plaintiff, which is Dennis Gaddy, CSI, Community Success Initiative. It's been a battle, and we got to educate our community and let them know that they now have a right to vote, and don't let our fighting be in vain. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Diana.
So 56,000 people, Reverend Matthews, can now vote. They couldn't, 56,000 people can now register and vote who couldn't vote last year because people went to court and won that right to vote. And we need people on this station, and we do. If you know anybody who committed a crime or were convicted of a crime and they served their time, they had their voting rights taken, that now those voting rights have been restored and they can register to vote. Who's our next testifier?
Next, we're going to hear from Pastor Nestor Gomez.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. We are working with the Comunidad Vida Nueva. I am the co-founder and pastor. And right now, my big preoccupation, number one, is about my community, Latino, Black and Brown, vote. Number one, we are working for resistance to vote because sometimes we demand justice, we demand new policy. I remember one phrase is very important for me. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. say, now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. This is very important for me because if we need justice, we need both. Because my vote, your vote is your voice. For example, I don't vote because my social status. For the last 20 years here in North Carolina, I live here, pay my taxes, but I don't have the opportunity for vote. But my 5 children are citizens and they vote because I say they, your vote is your voice. We need both. I say to my community in North Carolina, for example, right now, Latino community is 1.2 million here in North Carolina. You know, I challenge the people for both. Last one is very important in this election with Comunidad Vida Nueva. We are working in Harnett County, part of Wake County, and Johnson County to put the safe site for the people, you know, protect the vote. It's very important for us, say to the people, vote, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. You're so right. It's so important for the people to vote, and the Latino community, 1.2 million people now in this state. And for those that can vote, it is important that we do. It is the only way we can make sure that justice is a reality. Brianna, who we have next?
Next, we'll hear from Mama Cookie with Raise Up for 15. You're on mute, Mama Cookie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to have a voice today. I never get this voice on a job. I've been a fast food worker for decades. I've been organizing with Raise Up for years, so I'm always talking to low-wage workers about the changes that we can make if we vote. We're going through the same bad working conditions for all of low-wage workers. We aren't paid enough. We've got no voice on the job. Our voices need to be heard. So even though workers have different employees, we have a lot of demands of same problems in common. So we need to vote. We need to keep organizing at our job, but we can't forget to vote. We need to vote for the right people, because here's what elected officials have the power to change. They can raise the minimum wage to at least $15. Elected officials could make it easier for workers to form unions. Elected officials could hold corporations accountable for wage theft and unsafe working conditions. If we can get pro-worker candidates into office, it can pave the way for us to win what we need. To all the workers, I say, your voice matters. Your vote matters. Organize, 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 and then please go vote. Thank you so much.
Wow, we need to take that and send that everywhere in the whole country, because that's it in a nutshell, y'all. Pastor Matthews, what we're saying to folk is, if somebody tells you your vote doesn't matter, first of all, why are they saying that to you? Why would they be trying to get you to stop doing something? It might be because they know how much power you have. Because, or if somebody tries to take your vote, and you heard Mama just say, listen, whether or not you have a living wage is going to be determined by somebody who gets into office, whether or not you have health care, whether or not you have labor rights. And your audience that we do, and all around that congressional district down there, needs to understand that you don't just vote for folk because they wave a flag. You don't vote for folk because they're ads on TV. You need to check their voting record. Where do they stand? And what we know is in North Carolina, poor and low wealth people have so much power if we choose to use it. But you got to check the record, and you vote for people. You're not voting for Jesus. You don't elect Jesus. You're not voting for God. You're voting for human beings. That the way you evaluate them is where they stand. In fact, in the scriptures, Brother Matthew, the voting is a divine gift, because voting starts in Genesis when God gives human beings the right to make a choice. God says you get to vote, you get to make a choice. And in the Bible, the word koil, K-O-L in Hebrew, that word is the same word for voice and the same word for vote. Is the same word in Hebrew. It's K-O-L, koil. And so we should never allow our voice to be taken, nor should we allow our vote to be taken. And sometimes people will say, well, you know, my one vote doesn't matter. But if 1 million people are saying the same thing, it's not your one vote. It's 1 million votes. And there are elections in this state. I'm going to show you some data in a minute. And Lauren, if you all get that video back up running correctly, let me know. We'll play it at the end. But I want to put up some slides, Rev. Matthews, so you can, your voters. Now, I'm going to have to talk them for those listening by radio, but for those looking at live stream, are we ready for those slides?
Yes.
Let me see. They're coming up. And they're coming up. We got them, yeah, move them fast. Thank you. Of course, go to the next one. If you look at poverty in the United States, over 140 million people in this country are poor and low income. I want your listeners to hear that, and those who are watching by live stream. That's over 43% of the population. That's over 60% of Black people. That's 26 million people. Over 64% of Latino people, that's 38 million. 40% of Asian people, that's 8 million. Somebody move my flyer. 58% of Native Indigenous people, that's 2.14 million. And 33% of white people, that's 66 million people, are poor and or low wage or low wealth in this country, the richest country in the history of the world. Almost 43% of the nation adult population and 52% of our children. Next slide. Keep on, next slide. Y'all move them as fast as you can because we are on radio. It's a little different. When we look at this map that we have up, what we have found out, go back, what we have found out is that in this country, when you look at the state, go back to the other slide, when you look at that every state where, Reverend Matthews, the election was less than 3%. In other words, the number of votes between the winner and the loser were less than 3%, less than 3%. The percentage of eligible, non-voting, eligible poor and low wealth voters was over 40-some%, over 40-some%. In fact, poor and low wealth voters now, poor and low wealth voters make up 33% of the electorate. And poor and low wealth voters who make less than $15 an hour, in battleground states make up 45% of the electorate. And in all the states, poor and low wealth persons make up 33% of the electorate. That's a lot of power. Now, in North Carolina, keep on, go to the slide if you can, in North Carolina. In North Carolina, poor and low wealth voters make up something like 3.2 million. See if you can go to that slide, 3.2 million, 3.2 million voters. In the last election, poor and low wealth voters, 2.1 million of the 3.2 voted in North Carolina. Go to the final slide. Y'all find that slide. That means that over 1.2 million, thank you, stop right there on the congressional district, over 1.2 million poor and low wealth voters didn't vote. Now, Brother Matthew, Reverend Matthew, what that means is if a candidate in North Carolina won by, let's just say, 1,000 votes, there were 1 million poor and low wealth voters that did not vote. We looked at every race and the margin of victory, and we found out that if just 19% of poor and low wealth voters were to vote that didn't vote last time, they could determine who sits in any office that's running for office right now. Not 30%, 20%, just 19%. Now, for your viewing audience and on the screen now, in the congressional district in Fayetteville, Congressional District 9, the total population of poor and low wealth voters total population in Fayetteville or an area is 640,000 voters, 640,000 voters. Of that number, poor and low wealth in the Fayetteville area that sits in Congressional District 9, 227,000 or 35% are poor and or low wealth voters. That's a lot of power. That means in the Fayetteville area, over 35% of the eligible voters in this, over 35% of the people in this area are poor and or low wealth. Next slide. And so we want to make sure that what we're saying today is that people register to vote. We got to make sure that they have a plan to vote. I'm going to have Brianna come on in just a second and tell people where they can go to check their voting status. They need to get other people to vote. The reality is we have power, but too often that power is not being released. And when we say we're voting, that if we ever need to vote for democracy and vote for justice, what we're saying is that it's not just like theory. We're saying living wages on the ballot. That's what democracy and justice is about. Healthcare is on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot. Women's rights are on the ballot. Latino rights are on the ballot. LGBTQ rights are on the ballot. All these things are on the ballot. So people need to know, if you sit out and don't vote, then you allow people to make decisions on all these matters without you having any influence. If you do vote, you can determine and decide not about a party, but you can determine the principles and the policies. And really, when people vote, you should understand that it's not about you hate the other candidate. It's not about you dislike folk. It's about policy. It's about policy. It's you don't, when you vote for people, it's not so much support as it is a demand. You say, I'm voting for you because when you get in office, I want you to vote that everybody has a living wage. I'm not trying to be lazy. I want to work. I just want to work for a living wage. When you get in office, I want you to vote for everybody to have health care, because health care ought to be a human right. You ought not have health care based on your wealth or how wealthy you are. And for the Christians, we know that because Jesus never charged a leper a copay. You know, he healed whoever he came into contact with. And so the same is true here. If the politicians in DC all have health care, all of it's paid for by poor and low wealth people, then we ought to have the same thing in America. It should not be something where your health care is dependent on your job and not on your humanity. In fact, Reverend Matthew, the last couple of things I want to say is 330,000 people died during this pandemic because they didn't have health care. It wasn't COVID that killed them. It was the lack of health care. Poor people died at a rate of 2 to 5 times higher than others. Poverty killed them, not the pandemic. Because before the pandemic, 700 people died every day from poverty. 700 people died every day from poverty, and 250,000 people a year. So we're coming to you today from Repairs of the Breach. I want to thank We Do for allowing us to come on, to hear these testimonies, to see this data. You all can click on this link and show it to other people. But the bottom line is there are 3.2 million poor and low-wage voters in this state. In the last election, over 1 million of those persons did not vote. You can't afford to sit home, because if you sit home, other people are going to decide on the issues that impact your life. They're going to decide every day on and if you're working and every day and you say, I sure wish I had more money. Well, last year in the Congress, they had a vote for living wages. And check the record. I think only 2 of the Congress people from North Carolina voted for a living wage, even though 79% of North Carolinians say we want a living wage, even though CEOs and corporations now make as high as 500% more than their average worker. I mean, that's the reality that we're dealing with. And as a Christian, you know, Jesus instructs me to care for the least of these, the hungry, the sick, the broken, the thirsty, the stranger. That's my public policy. And when I vote, I want to look at where people stand on these critical issues that affect the daily lives of individuals. And then I cast a vote, because my vote is not a demand, a support. It's not just because I like the candidate or like the way they smile or what kind of clothes they wear. No, no, no. My vote is a demand. I want you to, if you get elected, I want you to vote in a way that makes this one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all people. So, Pastor Matthews, thank you so much. I'll take any questions you may have. We didn't want to take up all the time today, but we are so thankful that we could come on radio, come on live stream, and get this message out. Brianna, tell people, do you have it where they can go if they want to sign up to help out with getting people registered to vote, or people who are already registered to vote? That's the other thing. Most people, a lot of people are already registered, just don't vote. They're already registered, Reverend Matthew, you just need to get up and go vote. So you wanna tell people what they can do and then where they can go to sign up and check their registration status and all of that. Go ahead, Brianna.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks. So the first thing everyone can do, make sure you are registered. And on the next slide, you're going to see two links, and I'll read them out if you're listening on the radio. www.ncdot.gov is North Carolina's election website. So you can go there for more information on where to vote, check your registration. You can also visit www.ncsbe.gov for more information. Also, make sure you keep in mind the voter registration deadlines in North Carolina. The online registration deadline is 25 days before Election Day. That means it is 5 p.m. Friday, October 14th. We have still got time, y'all. We've got just under 10 days to make sure that we are calling, texting, door knocking, reaching out to our family and friends, and making sure that we tap into that over 1 million people in North Carolina, poor and low-income voters that did not vote, that have an incredible amount of power in this election. So there is still time to make sure that people get registered. That's the online registration date. The register by mail date is also the same, must be postmarked 25 days before the election day. In-person registration deadline. Same-day registration is available during the early voting period, which begins October 20th and runs through Saturday, November 5th. So make sure you know those dates.
Let's stop right there and make sure people are clear, though. You can do online, you do that, but if you don't do that, starting on October 20th, you can register and vote the same day. You don't have to. So we want people to know in North Carolina, voting is a season and not just a day. You can take 100 people to the polls, wherever the site is, starting October 20th, and they can register and vote the same day. We won that. There were people trying to take that away, but we won that here in North Carolina, and we should use it.
Yes, yes, and take a friend with you when you go. Take a couple friends with you.
A whole lot of
yes, a bus full. If you can go to the next slide, I want to invite everybody to take a few moments right now. Visit this link, text this link to your friends. The link is bit.ly. It's a bit.ly link, if you're familiar with that, /ROTB for repairs of the breach, pledge, PLEDG. It's bit.ly /ROTB pledge. Okay, this link is going to take you to an online pledge card. So if you are moved by what you heard here today and you are ready to get involved in the effort to make sure that we are reaching out to those 1 million poor and low income voters, over 1 million in North Carolina, and that 35% in Congressional District 9, this is how you can get involved. When you go to that link, you're going to see a pledge card where you can sign up and put in your information, and we will be in touch with you to join. We are running a national phone and text banking campaign right now, reaching out to 5 million poor and low income voters, many of whom are in North Carolina and key states across the country. So we'll invite you to, we have many text banks happening every day. So it's easy to do from home with a flexible schedule. Whenever you're able, you can join us online and help text and make sure that everybody knows where and how and when to register and that they're ready with a plan to vote. So that's going to be one option you'll see on the pledge card, is to join a phone or text bank. The other option is to get in the streets with us and help knock some doors in your communities. We have some resources to help you organize that on your own. If you have some friends and neighbors that you can door knock with, we have flyers that you can pass out. If you want to, after church services one day or in an organization that you're a part of, help circulate the information and make sure people are ready to vote. And we also have some organized, coordinated canvas days with a close partner, the Poor People's Campaign. North Carolina Poor People's Campaign is part of a nationally coordinated day of action this Saturday, where there will be canvases happening across the state. And we would love for people to join, come out and knock some doors with us. So the link again is bit.ly/ROTB pledge. And when you go there, make sure you leave your information. Tell us what you're interested in doing, and we will be in touch to get you plugged in, because it's going to take, we don't all have to do everything, but every one of us can do something before November.
Well, thank you so much, Brianna, and thank you, Reverend Matthew, and most of all, thank We Do for everything you all do, and thank Wes. Do you have any questions for us, Brother Matthew?
Yes, sir, and I first of all want to thank you for sharing this urgency to make sure that we are registered and that we get out to vote. And I also want to say, even in the testimonials of the work that Mr. Gaddy, who I'm familiar with, his mother played a very important role in my upbringing as far as just an advocate within the community. But, you know, the fact that, you know, many people who have who were once incarcerated, who have served their time, are not aware of the ability to get back out and vote is critical, especially for our listening network. And so, you know, as we move forward as faith leaders, what are ways that we can do to kind of get our communities involved in this?
Well, one of the things we're saying is, if you take that link that Brianna showed you, you can actually show that in your churches. People can hook up, they can go there. It's an all-purpose link. They can find out how to get involved. They can join with Repairs of the Breach in our efforts across the state. They can join with the Poor People's Campaign that we undergird. We've already have the system set up, the text banking systems, the calling systems. And so it's just a matter of plugging in. You don't have to recreate the wheel. The wheel is rolling, actually, and already created. The other thing is, every church, I think every church ought to take at least 2 Sundays between now and November and talk about this, and you know, talk about this data, talk about what's going on. We're going to put the flyers in the chat, and people can get a hold of those. You know, pastors, we have to have a responsibility to let our people know. The Bible says people perish for the lack of knowledge and the lack of a vision. And we want folk to know. Right now, we got a lot of campaigns and politicians. They're putting these ads out. The ads are slick, but you can get past the slickness by looking at how they voted. That's what you want to look at. Where do they vote? Where do they stand on the issues in relationship to our community? And so, and then the last thing is, we need to be saying to folk, you know, voting is not just, you don't just vote because people suffered in the past. You should, but you vote because, first of all, as I said early on, God gave us the right to vote from the Genesis. He allowed us to make a choice. But then the other reason you vote is because of what's happening right now. It's not just what happened in the past, it's what's happening right now. Right now in North Carolina, 1 million people don't have health care. So we ought to look at these candidates and say, if they get elected, what are they going to do about that? Right now, 49% of all our workers work for less than a living wage. That could be changed with one vote. One vote. But we got to have people in office that'll carry that one vote and make that one vote. So we need to be pushing people. Pastors need to be pushing people. And we need to say to them, if we ever need to vote for democracy and justice, we need to vote now. And then we need to explain to folk, when we say democracy and justice, we're not just talking about, you know, something as an ideal. We're talking about very practical things. A democracy should protect everybody's vote. A democracy should guarantee living wages. A democracy should guarantee health care. Those are the kinds of things we need to be saying to our people.
So very much.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, let's get involved. Let's say it. If we ever needed to vote, we should, for democracy and justice. We sure do need to vote now. And come on, come on, come on. Let's go vote. Let's move now. We can do this. There's no reason that anybody should be sitting home. And surely, if you're poor and low wealth, there's no reason that 1 million of us who are all, and over 600,000 who are already registered, they don't even have to register. So all you have to do is get up. You don't have to register and go to the polls. That's a lot of power. Just 19% of that could change so many things. So let's not let people tell us what we don't have. Let's hear that question that God asked Moses when he faced the troubles of the Red Sea, and Moses wanted to pray, and God said, no, what's in your hand? What's in your hand? Use what's in your hand and use it now. God bless you. Take care. Always, We Do is the place to listen every day.
Thank you, sir.